Let me ask you a hard question. If your top performer told you tomorrow they were leaving, are you going to reach for your checkbook or the phone to have that real conversation? So here's the truth. Pay can attract people, but it can't keep them. Leaders all across the country are just throwing money at retention problems. Bonuses, raises, perks. Yet why do employees keep walking out the door? People don't leave companies that make them feel valued. They leave environments that make them feel unseen. So in today's episode, I'm going to unpack the real reason why people stay. And surprisingly, it's not about the paycheck. If you're a business owner out there or a leader who wants to build a team that stays loyal after the next offer comes along, this conversation's for you. This is the Leaders Leading Leaders podcast, and I'm your host, John Espinosa. So I help business owners hire and retain their top talent, and we do it through building high-performance teams. And in today's episode, I titled this thing, Pay Won't Fix All Your Issues, the real reason why people stay. A lot of times I get into conversations, and it doesn't matter what size the business is. Business owners tend to throw money, that's the first option, at retention issues. When they hear that a top performer's thinking about leaving or looking elsewhere, what happens? Call them into the office. What do I need? How much do you need to stay? All right, what do I need to do to keep you? Have we had that conversation before? Have you been maybe on the other side of the table where you were asked that conversation and you look around and you're like, nothing, I'm gone, right? Or this just isn't the place for me. If you've had those conversations, whether you're on either side of that table, it's a difficult pill to swallow. So today I'm going to give you some actionable strategies that work. I've seen these work. I've experienced them in my businesses and teams, and I've worked with people that suggest to do the work ahead of the time. So in this first topic today, we're going to cover why connection beats compensation. And a lot of times I get the look, John, this is fluff. John, you're just telling me to do something that is outside or I'm not comfortable with. Guess what, leaders? Guess what, business owners? You're not comfortable with it because you're not doing it. A lot of times, the things that we do, think about whether you're starting a new diet or any new habit that you're starting. Are you going to be comfortable with it day one? Probably not. Are you going to be comfortable with it day two? Heck no. It's going to take time of you building that competency, that comfortableness. So think about that when we talk about these actionable steps, because in this podcast, I give you actionable things that you can take and start working tomorrow. So make sure that you're listening all the way through. We cover 3 points. I make it short and simple. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, you would be doing me a huge favor. Click on that subscribe button. It's absolutely free. Or better yet, share this content with somebody that you know is struggling, keeping people turnover. Maybe they're just throwing money at the problem. So this first one, employees, I know we all think that they want to come work for us. That's just not the case. They want to work for something that is meaningful, something that they are building or helping to build. As human beings, we want a sense of purpose. It's not that, hey, I want to work for John, because if I were to go away or if I were to sell my company, would they still stay if you weren't there anymore? If you built the culture, if you built an organization the way that you should build it, they're staying, whether you're there or not. No one employee, no one, including us business owners and us leaders out there, are more important than the culture of the team or the organization. So people want to feel a connection to the mission. I always think that when people throw money at problems, that's very transactional. What I want to create is a connection that is transformational. And again, this is real stuff. These are strategies that work. So one thing, get to know your people personally. How many of you out there listening can identify your employees or your team's strengths, their abilities, like who their spouse's name is. Those are the types of things that create a connection. What's their children's name? How many children do they have? What are the ages of their children? What sports do they play? What do they like doing outside of work? I am just shocked at the amount of leaders out there and business owners that don't know that about their employees. So if that's you, and I've been there before, trust me, I'm talking to myself. These are the things that I've learned over watching talent, high-performing talent, walk out the door, or me, myself, leaving organizations despite what they were paying me. One thing, the application here for this particular topic, connection over compensation, I don't know how many times that I walk in the door and people want me to help them with their exit interview. And my first question is, okay, what are you doing to be proactive? What about your retention interview? Why are people staying within your organization? What makes them excited about what they do? What connects them to the purpose or the mission of your organization or your business? Those are the questions that I want to help you develop, because the last thing you want to do is have somebody already leaving, accepted another offer, and now you're having an exit interview. So the application here, I want to challenge everybody to create stay interviews. And those interviews, make them part of whether it's a performance evaluation, whether it's just a check-in. Hey, I want to have a conversation about what you like about this organization. What gets you excited in the morning to get up and come to work? Those are the questions that I really want answers to, not, hey, why are you leaving? That's a whole different conversation. Be proactive. Create stay interviews. It allows the individuals, the employees within your organizations to get that connection to you as the business owner or the leader of that team. And it builds really that emotional loyalty. Everyone, a quick break in the episode today. Are you struggling to find and keep the right employees? You're not alone. High turnover drains time, money, and morale, leaving us frustrated, overwhelmed, and feeling like we have to settle for less. I understand how tough hiring can be because I've lived it. And with over 21 years of building high-performance teams, I know how to turn hiring challenges into lasting employee success. Through my proven lead framework, we're going to analyze your processes, design a personalized strategy, and implement solutions that create confident and long-term results. Don't let turnover hold you back. Choosing this program is that first step towards a thriving workplace. Enroll today at thejohnespinosa.com and build the team you deserve. Imagine a team that works seamlessly together, or keep facing the same costly cycle of turnover. The choice is yours. Now back to our episode. So one thing as we transition into this next topic is, now that we have that connection, right? Next, we got to talk about, okay, where do you see yourself within the company? Because progress is the oxygen of purpose. And in this next topic, we're going to talk about how growth, it's that glue. It allows people to feel that connection with the company. And it happens through, I see a future with whatever you're doing, whatever business, whatever organization that you're leading, those individuals see themselves. It could be a situation where you're meeting with maybe the entry-level employees within the organization, and they may not even have an idea of what the future, what the possibility of a future looks like within your business or your organization or your team. That's the opportunity to allow that foundation to be built. These are the goals that I'm going to be working for. This is how we're going to help you get there. And, people stay where they're growing, not just where they're earning. Money helps. I'm not oblivious to the fact that cost of living goes up every single year. Healthcare is going up every single year. Our benefits, I get it. But throwing money at the situation doesn't resolve it. And if it does resolve it, it's probably a short-term fix, because now what you've created is this culture of, if you want to leave the organization, we'll just give you a 10% raise or whatever that looks like. So now you may be starting something that you're opening the floodgates. You can't put a valve on to close. So one thing that I get asked quite often is, how am I developing my team, not just giving them things to do? Because we get stuck in this project loop. You got a spreadsheet, has a bunch of things to do on it, right? Projects have start and end dates. As leaders, we get hyper-focused on checking those things off, checking those projects off, those tasks. And so we then turn into this delegation machine where we're giving projects or pieces of projects to the team, to the employees that are under our leadership. Instead, we're not looking for development opportunities. We're not explaining or communicating those development opportunities. Why exactly did you pick one person over another to lead a project or to be involved in that project? Because there had to be some type of decision making that went on. But if we don't explain that decision-making process to an individual, they just feel like we're delegating work. And when they don't feel a connection with that work or why, a lot of times it's going to be uncomfortable for them because we're challenging them to grow, just like I mentioned earlier. But whenever we don't explain, give the why behind that, why we gave them that we see it as a growth opportunity, now the frustration's there. And they create the story of why you gave it to them. And a lot of times that story is like, well, he just doesn't like me or she just doesn't like me. So they're piling a bunch of work on me. They're just trying to get rid of me. Instead of, we're trying to grow them. We think we're growing them by challenging them, getting them outside of their comfort zone. They see it as they're just piling work on top of me. Have we been in that situation? I have. So how do we prevent that from happening? And I was journaling this morning and I was just thinking, I was like, what's the greatest piece of advice that I could tell somebody that may be in that loop of just dumping or that feeling of dumping work on others? And it's this: high trust leaders build development pathways. They don't wait on HR to do that for us. And there's some really good HR organizations out there that have these career paths or development plans, however, whatever term that you use. But even small businesses need to have some type of development plan. But as leaders, we don't have to wait for HR to come up with some career map of, okay, you're at this level. To get to the next level, this is what you got to do. And then to get to the next level, you got to do these 3 or 4 things, and so on. As leaders, business owners, we need to sit down with employees and develop that talent. Take it upon ourselves. Take the initiative. That does a couple things. What that does is, one, it allows the employee and the leader, the business owner, to have that two-way conversation. Where do you see yourself growing within the company? I got it. Then the second and probably the most important thing is, now it allows us to lean in as business owners and as leaders to really help generate what that plan looks like. Or they call it co-developing or co-contracting, whatever term you want to use, but you're creating the plan together. You're mutually designing what that employee's growth is going to look like for your company. And that is cheaper than any retention issue or throwing money at a retention problem. I would rather put the money in the development of that employee than put the money in paying that same employee who doesn't see themselves as a future in their salary. I mean, as a small business owner, that's where I want to put my money. I want to develop. And people are like, well, if I develop them, they leave. What if they leave anyways? So put your money where you're not only growing the individual, but they are also feeling that they're valued, there's a connection, and there's a future in the business for them. So one thing here, application, 90-day growth map. A lot of times we get into these 1 to 2 year development plans, and there's a whole bunch of goals on there in, training. Things change so rapidly now. New things come into the business. People change their minds. A 90-day growth plan, that's the sweet spot for me. So what's their 90-day growth plan? Remember, focus on one skill, one project, and one win. Keep it simple. People tend to only focus on one thing anyway. So why do we have 4 or 5 things that we put on their growth plan? Let's just get that one thing done, shorten the time frame into 90 days, and now we're seeing growth. We're building. They're experiencing those small wins, and the company is growing together. We're all growing together. So that piece right there, growth creates the glue. The next topic I want to transition into, now we're developing people. We've created that connection. Development may feel empty, though, if the employees don't feel like they belong to something. And this is where the myth of if I develop them, they may leave, it will come to fruition if they don't feel like they belong to something. So how do we create that? Belonging is going to build the retention. And I've seen companies do this very, very well. Small companies, small organizations up to a large organization. So they can do it. And I've seen them do it in pockets too. So you have high performing, high retention teams. And then you have another team that could be doing very similar work that has constant turnover. Same skill set needed, same pay, same salaries, different leadership, right? So here, people stay where they feel safe. And this goes back to the hierarchy of needs, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. What's the very foundation? It's psychological safety, food, shelter. If I got to worry about where my next food is coming from, I'm not going to be able to focus on anything else. That's what I'm talking about here. People will stay where they feel safe. And it's not about the perks again. It's not about free lunches or those team dinners or the workout, the 30-minute or an hour workout. Yeah, those are nice. Trust me, I'd go work for a company that had those perks, but do I feel like I'm connected? Do I feel like I actually belong? Because those perks are nice, but in the end, does it excite me every morning to get up and go to work? Because if the answer is no, that's what's going to feed my psychological safety, my happiness, not whether I get a gym membership, okay? So celebrate as leaders both the wins and the people that are tied to whatever project, whatever challenge that you guys overcome. And the reason why we do this is it puts the two together. It marries them to where now those individuals feel like they're just not pawns that we're moving around, work that we're delegating to them to check off our list. They feel that belonging. They're tied to not only that they developed, that they accomplished something as a team or as an individual, but now they understand how that win tied into the bigger mission and vision of our businesses and our organizations. One thing that I wrote down here, create a culture where every voice is heard, not just the loud ones. There's a saying out there, well, the squeaky wheel gets all the attention. The person who yells the loudest, not physically, but metaphorically, gets what they want. If that's the culture in your environment, I'm telling you right now, the quiet voices, the high performers that don't want to speak up or maybe don't want to put the energy into it, they're going to start to bow out. And when they start to disengage, that's where you're going to start to see some of those cultural problems come in. They're not going to bring forth what they need to bring forth because they know that so-and-so who talks the loudest, they get unequal, right, attention. So here, create a culture where every voice is heard, not just the loud ones. And the application, so belonging builds retention. I want to go back to this fact that if people don't understand how the work that they're doing is helping the success of the team, of the business, and they're confused, they're going to revert back to, I don't know if this is a safe environment for me to be in. I feel like kind of I belong, but I don't understand how directly my work directly is impacting the performance of this organization. So I could get rid of. I could be, fired or, they can get rid of me. I'm the low person in the environment. If they're feeling that way, as business owners, we need to create these stories, and I wrote this down as an application specifically for this belonging piece. We need to add a story that connects people to the purpose. And in order for that connection to be made, we have to understand what's the purpose of our businesses and our organizations. It's important for us as leaders and as business owners to identify that and communicate it often. That's how we're going to build that belonging that in turn is going to equate into higher retention in our companies. So again, real quick recap, connection. over compensation. Help people feel connected to the mission and vision of the organization. Then allow them to see how they're going to grow within the business. And then last but not least, belonging builds retention. And that belonging comes, again, with tying in performance to purpose. So pay gets people in the door, but connection, growth, and belonging keeps them from walking out. I believe in you. Go be great. Talk to you on the next episode. Bye-bye.